Welcome to Hooping for the Best Possible Embroidery with Kay Hickman.
One of the most important aspects of beautiful embroidery is proper hooping. So we need to get familiar with our embroidery hoops so that we can all be more successful at our embroidery projects. So let's take a look at the part of the hoop anatomy. First of all, the parts of the hoop. You have the outer ring. The outer ring of the embroidery fits around the inner ring, and that's what holds the fabric and stabilizer in place. The outer ring adjusts in size by the screw on the side, and that's to accommodate different thicknesses of stabilizer and fabric by tightening or loosening that screw. It has the bracket on the side that fits onto the embroidery module's arm. The inner ring of the embroidery hoop fits within the outer ring, and it's placed on top of the fabric before it is placed inside the ring. This ring does not adjust in size. There's some alignment marks when you're hooping properly at the bottom of the hoop on the inner ring and the outer ring. Those need to align when you're hooping. There's also the hoop template, and the hoop template we will talk about in just a little bit also. Tightening the screw is very, very important to the proper embroidery. You're going to loosen the screw before you place the inner ring in, before the hooping process. The looser the screw is, the easier it is going to be to get the fabric into the hoop. You can loosen this significantly. Flip it over on the back and you'll see a little nut on the back, and you can loosen that until that nut is all the way to the end. Just take care that you don't loosen that nut, loosen it too much where the nut gets lost. The hoop template is what we're going to use, and this will help us to get perfect alignment so that we have our design perfectly placed on our project. You will see the notches here in close-up detail. Those are at the bottom of the hoop. The hoop template is a plastic template. It has some little clips on the side that fit into the notches in the inner ring of the hoop. When these are placed properly, you should be able to read the word BERNINA always in the lower part of the template. Then we're going to prepare the fabric for embroidery. We'll want to mark horizontal and vertical crosshairs at the center where we want the design to be. At that point, you will turn the fabric over so that the wrong side is up. And now we'll place the stabilizer on the wrong side of the fabric. It is best to spray the stabilizer with a little bit of temporary spray adhesive, which will help hold the layers together and prevent shifting while the design is embroidering. You'll also want to now select the hoop that is closest to the size of your design. Your machine will come up on the screen, and it will usually prompt you as to which hoop is the closest in size, so you can pick that hoop if your machine comes with that hoop. Different machines will come with different hoops, so check your manual to see which one you have. Now for hooping. We're going to place that outer ring on the hoop on a slip-free surface. There are also commercial products that you can get that will also hold this outer ring in place very, very securely. You'll loosen that screw at the bottom significantly. Again, the looser, the easier it will be to hoop. Then you take the inner ring of the hoop with the template, and you align the crosshairs on the template with those on the fabric. Then gather up the two sides of the fabric in your hands with your thumb on the inner ring of the hoop, and at that point you can pick that up and you can place that then inside the inner ring of the hoop. You'll press down firmly till both the inner ring and the outer ring are flush against the surface, and then you will slide over the hoop so that you can have access to that screw. This is very, very, very important that you tighten the screw back up, because that is what will, the compression between the inner ring and the outer ring is what holds that fabric in place during the embroidery process. Without that, you're going to have embroidery that does not look well. You can also place your fingers flat on the table over the fabric on the inner part of that hoop as you're tightening that screw, and that will help to prevent that bubble from forming that we usually see right there in that corner. Now that you have it hooped, you want to check to make sure there's no wrinkles and everything is flat and smooth. And then one last step is to push that inner ring down ever so slightly below the outer ring. This will do two things. One, it will tighten the fabric up just a tad bit more. And two, it's going to prevent that outer ring of the hoop from rubbing against the sewing machine bed. And then you're going to embroider the design. You're just going to follow the prompts on the screen, and when you're finished you should have a wrinkle-free stitch out with no bumps or lumps. If you happen to see a few small wrinkles, then there is one trick that you can use that will help that significantly, and that is to press the wrong side over a fluffy towel. The fluffier the better, and you'll want to just set the iron straight down on top of it, lift the iron straight up, and then let it cool before you move the fabric. This will help get rid of any wrinkles that are around the outside of the design. We don't always hoop flat things, so when we're trying to hoop things like shirts or t-shirts or garments, then we need to hoop just a tad bit differently. You're still going to mark your center point that you have your design, and then you're going to turn that wrong side out. You'll want to place the garment flat on a work surface with the wrong side up. When you have it this way, your fabric is at rest and you can get a much better stitch out because you're going to be adhering the stabilizer to the back side without stretching the fabric. So you'll prepare the stabilizer. You're going to adhere the layers together if you're using more than one, and then you'll spray the layers again with a little bit more temporary adhesive spray on the top. At that point, you're going to place the stabilizer on the wrong side of the fabric with the sticky side down, and then you will position the hoop in the template. So you're going to kind of go up from the bottom. So through that hem area, you'll gather up the fabrics until you can see the crosshairs that you've marked on the fabric. Then place the hoop with its template over those crosshairs. Now you will again pick up the fabric just like we did before, only you're going to have more fabric here. Your thumb should be on the inside part of the hoop with your fingers around catching the fabric and the back side of the hoop. Now you're going to insert that into the outer ring, remove the template, and now you're going to check to make sure that there's no wrinkles in the top and everything is smooth. You will then also tighten that screw just like we did before, and you will make sure that everything is nice and neat, and then push that inner ring in ever so slightly so it sits a little bit lower. Now one thing we did with this particular garment is that we used a topping over the top. A topping is something you will need to use anytime you have a napped fabric or something with a lot of stretch or something that's got any kind of an irregular weave. This t-shirt was really pretty smooth, but it never hurts to use a topping, and for this t-shirt it actually improved the look of the design. You need not hoop the topping, but it does need to be secured to the fabric. Painter's tape works well for that. And then you will embroider the design. You're ready then to remove the stabilizer from the back, any of the topping from the front, and you're ready to wear your new creation.